Yo, what is going on, guys? Got a video here today from Cosmic Verse titled Women Are Attacking Men for Going Their Own Way. I love how when dudes decide to do their own thing, refuse to date, refuse to marry, well, of course, it becomes a huge problem. Today's video was suggested to me by Matrix of Madness. I'm going to leave both of their channels linked in the pinned comment, so make sure you go and subscribe to these guys. Don't forget to leave your own comments, and let's jump right into the video.
I think the best thing to do if you are single and you want to meet somebody and you're done with dating apps is you have to romanticize life. So you never know who you're going to meet, because truly we could meet our soulmate tomorrow. You never know.
I was humbled so quick tonight. I was on live with my boyfriend and someone was like, "How old's your girlfriend?" And John jokingly responds 47. And the girl comments, "Oh, I thought she was early 30s. I am 23.
To be a passport bro is to be irredeemably arrogant in a body bloated with ignorance, despair, and a lack of shame.
These women who bash passport bros are absolutely hilarious to me. They always try to paint men as ignorant and shameful, but whenever they list their reasons behind disliking passport bros, their reasonings are ignorant, shameful, and sometimes just blatantly racist, to be honest with you.
But one of my favorite things about the passport bros that you can't deny is that they are determined and disciplined enough to try to prove a point that just doesn't exist. The point being is that every woman in America is just too masculine and we're just too bad, and they cannot find a mate here, so they have to go elsewhere to go find a mate. It's giving tourism, I'm not gonna lie to you. But anyway, my favorite thing about the passport bros these past couple of years is that no matter where they go, the women know. And it's a very easy connection because they're tourists in these countries. So they're not just any kind of tourists having fun in the Dominican Republic, going to Kenya and having a ball. No, they're arch tourists basically.
The reason why many men move abroad to find spouses or significant others is because it is significantly easier and less of a hassle to find a woman abroad instead of having to deal with a modern woman's crap. And these foreign women know that, but if they're attracted to these men, they won't care.
Because what? They'll complain about women's femininity issues in America. Women want this, that, and the third. Women are ungrateful. Women are entitled. They lack accountability. Hinga-dinga-durgan. Just to go off and bypass all of that and throw their hard-earned American cash in a foreign woman's face, and they eat it up.
Another one that doesn't care about the passport bros, and yet is very much invested. She actually listed all the reasons why men are leaving, and they will continue to leave if women in the West continue to act that way.
It's interesting to me how she openly mocked every single valid point men have when it comes to modern women in the West. This is the reason why many men are going abroad in the first place. Men just want a little bit of respect and kindness, and that's something that modern Western women quite honestly lack.
And these men would rather spend their money where it matters. One thing she's not going to list, though, is the passport cis, traveling the world, thinking they're going to find a man to take care of them. Many of them are struggling. The truth is, while passport brodos are building connections and finding partners who value respect, support, and partnership, passport cis is often facing a much tougher reality. They head out with high expectations, hoping to find a wealthy man who will cater to them, only to discover that men abroad aren't impressed by entitlement or unrealistic demands.
The passport cis movement is incredibly hypocritical. These women are doing the exact same thing that they openly shame men for, and they are so ignorant that they think their job and nationality somehow magically wins them goodwill with foreign men, even though it's obvious that it doesn't.
These men want women who contribute to the relationship, not just financially, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And those are the qualities that many modern Western women lack.
Bring back manly men. Back in the olden days, men used to die in the war. They would be forced to go to war and die. Your office job doesn't sound too bad now, does it?
Modern women love to talk about how oppressed they are, but they are very quick to dismiss mandatory conscription during times of war. They get the luxury of not having to go off and fight while complaining that men aren't doing enough.
People be like, these American guys are going across the country to find Filipina slaves. Girl, you're just not doing your job. You are just not doing your job properly. That's why they look for us, because we do it good.
Where are the guys that still think traditionally?
Everywhere. They are literally everywhere. Your problem, madam, is that you actively ignore the men with traditional values, as they do not meet your absurd standards to what constitutes, quote-unquote, a real man to you.
Like being committed to one person,
not cheating, basically like an old school relationship. Where are they? Because I'm in Orange County and I cannot find not one. I tried dating in the real world, and that just turned into him wanting to be in a relationship, me being faithful, but him being able to fuck whoever he wanted. What's going on? Is this how every guy in California thinks? What's happening here?
What's happening here is this is a classic case of Chad chasing. This is a woman who is having regular bedroom fun with her man and calling it dating. Even though this man has a roster and options, he keeps her around as a bed warmer. It's quite simple.
Well, either you have to move somewhere else or take a good, hard look around you. It doesn't sound like you're struggling to find good men, madam, because good men are everywhere. Seems to me your real issue is picking the wrong men, and that's a pattern only you can break. Good men don't just vanish into thin air, they're out there, but they aren't flashy or playing games, so maybe they're easy to overlook when you're chasing the wrong type.
They're not so much overlooked as they are just actively ignored and treated like trash. Average men are neither to be seen nor heard, and the second they make their presence known, they are deemed as creepy and will be treated as such.
If your choices keep leading you to disappointment, maybe it's time to stop blaming the pool and start looking at the person doing the fishing. The question is, are you ready to change your approach and recognize them? Or will you keep repeating the same mistakes and wondering where all the good men have gone? Many women do this and then realize they're falling into the same pattern over and over again. The whole idea of not being able to find a good man is a myth. These men are right under their nose. They're the ones not looking.
Even if these women lowered their standards and got with quote-unquote average guys, there would be too much resentment, comparison, and disrespect for them to be content in that relationship. They have passed the point of no return.
This generation of men aren't romantic at all. And I could say something like, this generation of women don't cook at all, but that would probably get me in trouble, right? I feel like a lot of men aren't romantic anymore because we have told them that we didn't like those things. We don't want him to open the door because we're capable of opening it ourselves. We don't want him to buy us flowers because we're able to buy our own flowers. If you want your man to be romantic, tell him the things that you like. Show massive appreciation when he does those things. And don't ever discount his efforts by saying something along the lines of, "You never buy me flowers."
I agree.
It's come to the point that a man could be romantic, he could open the doors, he could buy the flowers, plan the dates, and so on. But modern women assume this to be the quote-unquote bare minimum for a relationship, and they treat it as such. And if a man has to waste that much time and energy for something that she won't appreciate, then what's the point of doing it in the first place?
Biggest issue with these passport bros aren't that they're getting passports and going to find the love of their life. I think when it starts to be kind of weird is when you only date people outside your country, right? If a passport bro were to say, "Oh yeah, I only date Asian women," right? That is a fetish. That's not a passport bro, right?
It's amazing how these women will take any man's preferences and make a pathetic attempt to shame them because of it. Men are allowed to like what they like, but these women look at them and get furious that they aren't seen as attractive by the men who are fleeing the country in an attempt to find better women.
Passport bros are people who specifically go from country to country to country trying to find women, exotic flavors, to dabble in, right? It really starts becoming weird when you go to third world countries or countries that are not as advanced as ours and start telling women that you're going to marry them and a lot of these women are desperate, so they're going to take you up on that offer, right?
I just love, guys, how these women, when they're complaining, they assume that these women are poor, impoverished, and illiterate or stupid. Even though these women are typically educated, they speak English, and they live in cities with electricity, running water, internet, and fast food.
And in a way, it's kind of manipulative, right? They want someone who is going to be submissive to them. And what better way to find someone who's submissive to them than to find a woman who is at your beck and call? Because, the only reason she's in the United States is because of you. Sounds to me like a lot of control issue, right? And to be honest, ladies, these aren't the type of men that we want anyway. These men want a woman that they can control because they can't find it here in America because it's frowned upon to like own a human. They go to other places in the world where they can legally own a human.
This woman has absolutely no idea what she's talking about. A lot of these men are not bringing their wives to America, usually out of respect for the family and the culture, the reasonable cost of living, and to reduce the odds of his wife getting corrupted by the absurdity of Western culture.
I'm sure you can read the caption up there, but this woman really recorded a video bashing men while at work. Must have a lot of time on her hands. But truthfully, this sounds like projection, projecting her own loneliness and frustrations, because deep down, she knows she's undesired by men. It's easy to throw shade at others when you're struggling to get the respect and attention you think you deserve. She mentioned men are looking for exotic flavors in women from other countries.
It's funny how these women will bash passport bros when they've made it clear why they're going halfway across the planet. It's not about the women being exotic. It's about them being friendly, respectful, and peaceful, which are three things, by the way, that a modern woman cannot seem to provide.
Like they're choosing an ice cream flavor or something. That comparison is not only shallow, but it also reveals a lack of understanding about what men are actually seeking. They're not out here looking for a novelty to taste for a moment. They're looking for women who carry themselves with dignity. The idea that passport bros are only after women they can control is pure nonsense. It's rooted in a misconception about men wanting power or dominance.
Any modern woman who complains about passport bros is just upset that men have figured out a way to have a shot at not being as miserable as they are. She made all of the wrong choices, so she's lashing out at the guys instead of taking ownership over her life decisions. And by the way, you see these women get mad that dudes are leaving. I thought you don't care about these men. I thought they were trash. But of course, when the attention goes elsewhere, then it's a problem.
The truth is, many women in the West, unfortunately, don't act in a way that warrants respect. They often treat men like wallets or stepping stones.
It hurts me when my straight friends are like, ugh, I can't find a man. I guess I'm gonna have to go gay. I have 2% of the population to choose from. I have never before in my life been hit on by a woman in public. Please tell me more about how it's hard for you to find a date when I have to literally get on a plane to another country to go on one.
What this woman fails to understand is that what her friend is complaining about is how she can't get a date from the top 5% of men. So when you look at it that way, they're actually in the same boat.
The difference between a basic man and a high value man is that if he gets disrespected, the basic man usually reacts with disrespect too. So he wants to give it back to him. But a high value man will stay collective. He just received disrespect, which is not cool, but he's going to walk away from that because he doesn't tolerate that and he's not going to go down on his level and he's just going to walk.
Nonsense.
These women always think that they're experts when it comes to men, to the point where they feel qualified to lecture men on what makes a real man, even though they never have any idea what they're talking about. And they're usually making assumptions based on movies they've watched and books or just crap that they've seen from modern day media.
She doesn't know what she's talking about. Whether a man is high value or not has nothing to do with how he reacts or responds to disrespect. I think the word she's looking for is self-respect. A man who respects himself doesn't waste time arguing or trying to prove a point in a conversation where he's being disrespected. He simply disengages, walks away, and moves on with his life. That's true self-respect. Understanding that his time and energy are valuable.
Most of the time, the petty grievances thrown in a self-respecting man's lap aren't really worth a response anyway, so it's just best to leave it well enough alone and walk away from that kind of adversity, in my opinion.
And he won't waste them on someone who isn't willing to treat him with the same respect. So once again, this idea of it being tied to whether a man is high value is flawed. A man can have all the material success in the world, but if he doesn't carry himself with integrity and self-respect, he's not truly high value in the eyes of other men. And that's where women get it wrong when they talk about high-value men. Their definition often revolves around money and status. thinking that's what makes a man worthy of respect.
It's crazy to me, man, how these women can't even define half of the buzzwords and catchphrases that they use every day, yet they will come out here and try and define what makes a high value man. It's disgusting.
Having a guy plan dates, initiate them, move things forward is important to women, but not because of the reasons you think it is. When it comes to modern dating, there is something called the mental load, and that just basically means the logistics. Women think about these things all the time. We are conditioned at a very young age to think this way. Tasks around the house, keeping track of to-do lists, birthdays, sending holiday cards, and it's not guys' fault, but they weren't conditioned to think this way. So when women meet a guy who can move things forward, they don't always have to keep doing the footwork. It is so refreshing, not just because of chivalry, but because of the mental load.
The concept of the mental load is downright ludicrous. These women will complain about how much they have to think on a day-to-day basis, and they just assume that men never have to think about logistics, to-do lists, or the tasks at hand. When that's about 99% of our thinking processes, they honestly think we're incapable of thinking, guys.
Single dad, I did all the mental load for the family. When do I get a break? Yet, it still sometimes never seems to be enough. Men, stop being the only ones planning. It's just not worth it. So the thoughts of an adult? Yes, guys totally don't have those.
Noticed that there's a lot of beautiful women that are single. There's a lot of beautiful women that struggle in keeping a man. I know you guys are going to be like, oh, it's because they have high standards.
That's exactly right. Modern women not only have high standards when it comes to men, except for the men who are attractive, of course, but relationships as well. Their expectations for what men must do for them is so unreasonable and so stupid that most men just quit because it's not worth it.
No, that is not why. It's because these women only have beauty to offer. And some of that beauty isn't even real. A lot of them are buying their beauty. The problem is that they think that this is what's going to keep a man. No. Men are not as shallow as women love to portray them. If men were truly shallow, like how you guys want to portray them, then these women would all be in happy relationships, right? The thing is that, yeah, of course, beauty attracts a man, but it doesn't keep them.
Sometimes it's not even their beauty. They think that their existence and presence is enough to not only maintain a relationship, but also enough reason for her man to literally worship her as a quote-unquote goddess. And that's the language of some of the women that I'm using there.
Personality, your values, your morals, that's what keeps them. You treat them is what keeps them. So I don't know, I feel like women are definitely more shallow than men these days, because whenever I ask a woman, what is it that you're looking for in a guy, it's always a response along the lines of like, oh, well, he has to be a provider and this and that. But they never speak about morals, values. They never speak about things like that.
Yes, a lot of women are single because all they have to offer is beauty.
Men have been screaming for what they're looking for in a woman for literally decades, but the women who hear what they want tell them that they're wrong as they hop aboard the carousel for another round before hitting the wall.
But the real reason they can't keep a man is their personality. Just take a look at modern women today. Aggressive, combative, and often carrying a sense of entitlement. They walk around like they're God's gift to earth, expecting men to love them as they are, without making any effort to improve themselves or contribute meaningfully to a relationship. The problem is that beauty alone isn't enough to sustain a connection.
It's interesting how these women will always say that their men must be well off physically, emotionally, and financially, that he must have all of his life sorted out, and he must have his baggage settled, and his money to be readily available, and yet she is not under the same set of standards for herself, of course.
Physical attraction might get a man's attention, but it won't keep him if there's no kindness, respect, or compatibility behind it. Men value peace and harmony in their relationships. They don't want to come home to arguments, drama, or someone who's always trying to challenge them instead of supporting them. Modern women have been sold the idea that they can act however they want, and a man should just accept it because they bring themselves to the table.
Modern women are welcome to act in any way that they see fit, guys. You know, as long as it's within the law, I don't particularly give a damn. But the more they make these terrible decisions, the less likely they will be able to find a man for anything other than a brief situationship at best.
That's pure insanity.
I do not mean this in a pick-me type of way, but ladies, chill out on your man. Go let him be a man and do him. Go let him be out with his homies and leave him alone. Let him live his best life. You shouldn't have to question his loyalty or his integrity when you're not around. If that's the case, you shouldn't even be investing yourself in him in the first place. Because one thing about it, when I want to go out with my girls and do me or have my alone time, please don't be blowing my phone up asking what I'm doing, where I'm at, who I'm with. Absolutely not.
The concept of the girls' night is completely different to a man grabbing a beer with his buddies. The main difference, of course, guys, is the amount of attention that women invite when they go out to these places. You know, the things that they wear, the types of attention that they're getting, and so on. If you take the average guy and you send him to the bar, he's not typically going to be getting attention from people. Right? You see this all the time, guys. Women claim that they're just going out for themselves, but we all know what happens on nights out with women.
Successful relationships have an established trust. Successful relationships require both parties to be secure within themselves to be able to come together as one and accept that your partner or your spouse has his or her own life outside of you. Like I said, if you have to question what they're doing when you're not around, shouldn't even be with them in the first place.
A relationship is nothing without trust. The only problem is that modern women demand that their man trust them implicitly while he doesn't get the same courtesy in return. Everything is completely one-sided in a modern-day relationship. That includes time, attention, and trust as well.
And I also want to talk about why this mindset that so many Western women have is actually extremely problematic. Because not only are you putting down the men who are going overseas with pure intentions, you're also putting down the women from these other countries solely off of the fact that they were not brought up in a Western culture. Because you're calling them uneducated, you're calling them poor, you're calling them weak, you're calling them vulnerable. You're creating a superiority complex where you are at the top and women from all these other countries are at the bottom.
The women who crap all over passport bros use shockingly questionable remarks about the women that these men go after, by the way. These women oftentimes speak English, they have jobs, and they live in a civilized society. They aren't some dirt poor tribeswoman from deep in the Amazon who thinks that fire is magic, okay?
Now let me tell you something. If you were really superior, the men would not be leaving. And you would not be single.
Western women often put women in other countries down, claiming superiority as if they're flawless. But if that were truly the case, men wouldn't be leaving in droves to find these women they supposedly think they're better than. It's a contradiction that speaks volumes.
It's not only that, but they never articulate what makes them superior. They think that by merely existing, that they're better than the traditional women of Southeast Asia, South America, and other places. It's crazy, yet unsurprising to see this level of ignorance.
If you were everything you claim to be, why are so many men opting to leave instead of staying? The truth is, these women in other countries possess qualities that Western women could learn from if they stopped bashing them for a moment. Instead of tearing them down or criticizing men for wanting something different, maybe they should take a page from their book. Men aren't leaving because they hate Western women. They're leaving because they want something real.
Outside of women, there are other advantages to moving abroad. A lot of guys move there for lower cost of living, increased quality of life, better weather, and other things like that. But modern women want to boil things down to an ignorant level of oversimplification.
And if Western women spent less time bashing everyone else and more time reflecting on how they could contribute positively to a relationship, they might find that men don't need to look elsewhere to find happiness.
Okay, you know when you're single and people are always saying oh, you never know where you can meet someone. You might meet someone at the grocery store. Is that for real? Who's doing that? I'm legitimately asking, can you meet someone at the grocery store, and if so, how?
These women are so clueless when it comes to interacting with other men that they've forgotten how to say hello. But that's besides the point. When men go to supermarkets or hardware stores, they're not there to meet women. It's not a singles mixer, okay? They are there to purchase food or other items and then to move on with their day.
Because I just saw the sexiest man walk into the grocery store today, and I thought to myself, if I wanted to approach him, how the hell would I do that? what do I possibly say to someone? Because first of all, if people come and talk to me in the grocery store, I get pissed off. I'm in there for one reason and one reason only, to shop and get the fuck out. I'm not there to socialize. I'm not there to chit chat. I'm running around the grocery store like a maniac because I have things to do. But if I wanted to go say hello to a sexy man, I don't even know what I would say. Hi, what are you shopping for? What's your name? Who are you?
It's kind of funny how these women need step-by-step instructions to go up to a man and say hello. That's literally all a woman needs to do, and if the man likes her, he'll take it from there. If he doesn't, move on. It was never meant to be this overtly complicated.
Like, what? How would you even start a conversation in a grocery store? Genuinely asking, has anybody ever met a person of interest in a grocery store, and has it ever gone anywhere? Because I'm just so curious. And if so, teach me how.
This is how men feel today when trying to approach a woman. Hesitant, cautious. Except now, many men are choosing not to do it anymore. On the other hand, approaching a guy is incredibly easy for women.
A man runs the risk of public shaming, pepper spraying, police reports if he approaches the wrong woman at the wrong time. I mean, guys, I've seen so many video clips of this, of women like losing their minds in the gym and stuff like this. Like, no thank you. A woman can walk up to any man at any time and not have to worry about any of that. And this is the standard set by the very same women who are always asking where to find a good man, by the way.
They barely have to do anything to grab a man's attention. A simple hi, or even just a smile, can effortlessly spark a conversation. Men are naturally more receptive because they're not used to being approached. It's rare and often flattering for them. Women don't realize how much easier they have it in this regard. They hold the power to initiate without the same fear of rejection or scrutiny that men face. Men, however, don't experience this luxury.
That's because men have been condemned for existing by the very same women who celebrate themselves for the exact same reason. These women will always play the victim and never accept that they get to play life on easy mode. But anyway, guys, we're going to be leaving today's episode there. As always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new here. Drop a comment and I will see you all in the next one. Make sure you take care of yourselves. Peace.